The final elimination. Who will go through to the grand final? All new Family Food Bites. Then behind the scenes with you two on 60 Minutes. Tonight on 9.
Tonight, the Prime Minister all smiles on the campaign trail, despite a lacklustre result in Queensland. Flight dramas for Aussie travellers as Bali's Mount Agung erupts again. And all roads lead to Newcastle as the Supercar Championship goes down to the wire.
This is NBN News with Jane Goldsmith.
Good evening. Opinion polls might show voters are far from happy with the Prime Minister, but you wouldn't have known today as Malcolm Turnbull was swamped on the streets of Sydney. He may have spent most of his time taking selfies, but the aim was to add political weight to the Liberals' campaign in the crucial Bennelong by-election.
With smartphones at the ready, the Prime Minister today smiled and strutted his way into the battle for Bennelong.
Yeah, come on, smile. There you go.
A street walk in downtown Eastwood with Liberal candidate John Alexander became a scrum.
Yeah, that's a great face up here.
Oh, thank you.
Did you get a picture?
Every step a photograph opportunity as Malcolm Turnbull turned sharpshooter.
Lucky I've got a long arm.
Bringing out a big guns like a Prime Minister is normally a vote winner in most by-elections, but with his popularity on the slide, this is a very tough assignment for Malcolm Turnbull.
I think a lot of people here, they seem happy,
Even over lunch, selfies were on the menu. Before Mr Turnbull ripped into the main course, Labor's comeback candidate, Christina Keneally.
When she was the New South Wales Premier, she cut $300 million out of New South Wales schools in 1 year alone.
It wasn't just her political past. The Prime Minister quoted Miss Keneally's views, advocating Australia take the Manus Island refugees.
Christina Keneally is rolling out the welcome mat to the people smugglers.
An hour later, Christina Keneally was just as snap happy before hitting back at the PM.
The Prime Minister is making mischief on this issue because he has nothing else to talk about. He can't talk about the NBN, he can't talk about health, he can't talk about education.
She accused the Prime Minister of running scared in Bennelong, claiming it was his first visit in 233 days. And it seems it won't be his last. I'll be back. Damien Ryan, NBN News.
Malcolm Turnbull's appearance in Bennelong directly follows a disappointing result for the Liberal Party in the Queensland election. As political editor Chris Ullman explains, it was a rollercoaster night with a sting in the tail for the Prime Minister.
Labor clearly has the best shot at forming government in Queensland, and the Prime Minister's adamant the Liberal National Party disaster has nothing to do with him. And coalition research does show that Queensland LNP leader Tim Nicholls wasn't known in the regions and wasn't liked in the cities. The party was also carrying the weight of despised former Premier Campbell Newman in its saddlebags. But it's pretty hard for Malcolm Turnbull to argue there are no federal implications when one of his own MPs publicly links the Prime Minister to the shocking loss of votes to One Nation. And there's more muttering in private, proving yet again that Malcolm Turnbull's most lethal enemy is his own backbench.
If these numbers are correct, the night began at a canter with Labor looking set to retain government in Queensland.
The people of Queensland have preferred Anastasia Palaszczuk over Tim Nicholls.
Before it slowed to a crawl
With the separation of three.
and then stopped.
As we've said, often tonight, everything's different. Everything's changed.
The tale of the major party's failure to inspire Queenslanders was penciled in its first preferences. Labor was down on its 2015 result, while a hemorrhage of votes on the right gutted the Liberal National Party.
To a very great extent, the vote that One Nation has received has come from the Conservative side.
One Nation was not winning seats, but it was a wild card in the count. A string of two close-to-call contests blew up the Electoral Commission's preference distribution, and the night ended in a stalemate.
Tonight, we are close to the peak, but we are not quite there.
Queenslanders have voted to shake things up.
As the sun rose, days of counting lay ahead, and the blame game began. Queensland Federal MP George Christensen apologised on Twitter, saying the LNP had to stand up for Conservative values and
A lot of that rests with the Turnbull government, its leadership and policy direction. That's not how the Prime Minister sees it.
That was a state election fought on state issues by competing state leaders.
It's in Labor's interest to spread the pain.
The LNP in Queensland is on life support, and Malcolm Turnbull's leadership is terminal.
Queensland was a state affair, but there are clearly implications for the Prime Minister when one of his own MPs is so quick to publicly link him to the disaster. Chris Ullman, NBN News.
It's been 3 days of perfect weather, big crowds and high-octane action. Supercar supporters are heading home tonight after witnessing Scott McLaughlin dramatically hand the championship to Jamie Whincup at the Newcastle 500. And the inaugural event was clearly a big hit with fans, with more than 192,000 people flocking to the CBD circuit. Triumph on the track. A success off it.
Will we back again next year?
Whether it was on foot or by water, it was one-way traffic today streaming towards the fastest show in town.
We've got our sunscreen regime down pat now, I think. Just keep the water up and move around.
I've been down since Monday, just to soak up all the free atmosphere, and my feet are killing me, but it's alright, my head will be killing by tonight anyway.
A sea of red flooded the harbour circuit. Rising temperatures saw most dressed down, but not this seasoned campaigner.
You mightn't need to cope, but you've got to show your colours, and support the V8s, of course. Originated at Bathurst. I've been there 46 times in a row.
It was a case of no ticket, no worries for some. Every vantage point was taken. Local business Vacados making the most of pole position upstairs is already sold out for next year.
Great breakfast, lunch and dinner here. A great view, and we're booked for next year as well already in this restaurant. So it's, I'd say, too bad for those who missed out.
It's been a roaring success for Harry's Cafe de Wheels.
We got smashed last night, again I'm going to get smashed again today, and it's been really good.
Thinking outside the box.
Chicken 30 rolls for $5, water going for $3.
The cafe on Bolton Street took matters into its own hands.
We found the first couple of days was a bit tough, so we come up here, I reckon we've probably done over 150, 200 bacon and egg rolls alone in this morning, and we're looking to do about 600 burgers today at lunchtime.
While there was plenty of drama on the track, police say majority of racegoers have been on their best behaviour.
It's been positive. We've had no incidences, no dramas, great influx of people that have all been in a really good mood.
That mood was clear at last night's Cold Chisel concert. More than 20,000 fans rocking out after a day's racing. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. And Mitchell Hughes will have all the on-track action later in sport. More than 100 people rallied in Maitland today over the Berejiklian government's plans for the city's new hospital. Unions New South Wales is calling for the state to reverse its decision to build a hospital at Medford with a non-profit provider.
What do you want the new public hospital to be?
Here you say they're concerned.